like, I don't think they want to talk anymore.
No. That one can't talk anymore.
Yeah.
We cut out its tongue. Are you not cool with that?
Yeah.
Look, everyone, free tongues.
I mean, he conned people. He can't do that anymore. There you go.
Now that's redemption right there.
Forced atonement.
Mm-hmm.
They can't bully, rob, and steal if they have no arms, legs, or tongues.
And I think they'll be a lot more humble afterwards, too.
We healed them. You also left them in the forest, so they were immediately eaten by wolves.
Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass, your weekly Dungeons & Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornigal.
And I'm Will Meldon.
And we'll be hanging out with you for the next hour to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This week is the Barbarian Paladin, and then Hags Part 1, we'll explain that later, from the Monster Manual. So pull up a chair and listen up.
All right, so our two classes today are the Barbarian and the Paladin. Barbarian is a tribal warrior spurred by their internal rage, whereas a Paladin is guided by a devotion to something. It's the main thing, it's how they get their powers, and then they smite stuff just over and over again. So kind of a weird mix, as usual. Who wants to start us off? Gonna go picking. Kevin.
Oh, no. Crap. No, so I was initially really excited about this. They're both frontline fighters, pretty much forced to be into melee. I thought it would work really well, but after really kind of diving into it and trying to put things together, ultimately, I think I came away with kind of very lukewarm feeling about it. There's a bunch of okay things, but nothing really that great.
Are you talking mechanically speaking?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Will, any thoughts?
Well, you've got two levels of obnoxiousness here. You've got the Paladin, which is just kind of a damage powerhouse, a DM upsetting powerhouse of damage. And then you've got the Barbarian, which is obnoxiously hard to kill. Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly excited about this either, but there is definitely some min-maxing potential if you really just want to get out one round of damage that's over and beyond what anybody else can do.
Yeah, I mean, but what I was finding was rage doesn't really add that much damage.
No.
I mean, it adds some. It's good. It's, at level, I think starting off, it's +2 per attack. Per hit, yeah. So, I mean, it's not bad. It's nothing crazy substantial. If anything, it's more the fact that you get resistance to a whole bunch of damage that makes it really worthwhile all the time.
Yeah. Well, and that's only if you take the bear.
Resistance to all damage that's physical.
True. Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, you need the bear totem to get resistance to absolutely everything besides psychic. And I mean, it seems like when thinking about barbarian classes, that's always like the easiest one to pick. Not so much for RP, just more for it's such a good benefit to have resistance to absolutely all damage.
Right.
That it's like the first thing I always look at, but I just couldn't think of a huge reason to cross the two over role-playing wise.
Like the Totem Barbarian and then just
any Paladin. I mean, maybe there's like a nature...
Agents.
That's kind of a
one.
Yeah. I didn't look into that too much. Did you come up with anything specific?
I mean, nothing specific really. It just... So, I think that's kind of why it ultimately felt lukewarm. There's not... Just looking through what the different subclasses are, both classes, they're not getting a bunch of stuff that's... It almost doesn't matter, like, which ones you pick. They're just different ways to mesh it together based on what flavor you like.
Right.
A couple cool things. You could smite while raging.
Yep.
And you could use lay on hands, which is a heal while raging, because those aren't spells. So that's nice. The +2 damage per your taxes, of course. Nice. But it's all just nice. Like I said, it just feels very lukewarm. Like, so you could get Path of the Ancients. It can be hard to kill because like you'll get the Aura of Warding where you get resistance to all damage from spells, and those within 10 feet of you, which is insane. That will stick while raging, and then if you're the Path of the Totem Barbarian, have the Path of the Bear, where you're then just resistance to all damage anyways while raging. Though it doesn't really stack, does it?
No, resistances do not stack.
Yeah, so you just pick your source.
Right. So that's
yeah, it's almost like a little.
That's kind of nice though, because it says for aura of warding, you have resistance to damage from spells. If you're not going the bear totem, then a lot of that damage is from spells. So you're kind of then resistant to basically everything while raging. Otherwise, you're just resistant to damage from spells. That's not a bad ward.
Right.
Not as good as the Devotion ward, in my opinion, but it's still a really good one. I don't think there's any bad Paladin wards.
No, they're all
really good.
solid. Yeah, and then you also just have the base one all Paladins get, where it's just the +3, plus charisma to every
Correct.
saving throw.
Correct. Yeah. Did I say +3? Doesn't matter.
I might have.
That's what I'm used to
Yeah,
now, because
yeah.
I've been a Paladin for 8 levels.
Yeah. The real obvious roleplay is the Path of the Zealot from the Barbarian from Xanathars, where they're kind of warriors of gods, and then Paladins don't have to be a warrior of a god, but it's really easy to do that.
Right.
And so that meshes together well. They have such a devotion to their oath and their god, and it's a zealotry, a zealot-esque fanaticism. I don't know how to phrase this.
That's fine. They're zealots.
They're zealots.
Yeah.
Literally in the name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe we're overcomplicating that one.
And a zealot barbarian, and then really any paladin is going to be hard to kill.
What's zealot barbarian's main stuff?
I know. Well, let me pull it up. I have paladins up. That's why I'm not seeing it on my list.
It's monster.
Path of the Zealot. You could add some additional damage while you're raging, necrotic or radiant damage. If a spell such as like Raise Dead has a soul effect restoring your life, you don't need the material components. If you fail a saving throw while raging, you could re-roll it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. You can just free reses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need
You're
the diamond
so,
components.
you're such a zealot that you just wake back up as soon as you die.
What I don't like about that is you would obviously need a cleric or a high-level paladin to cast something to actually bring you back.
Right.
Like, you need somebody who can still do that. You're relying on your party pretty hard there.
It's a team game.
I understand that, but what if you're like, oh, cool, I made this Zealot Barbarian, it's going to be so hard to kill, and then everyone's like, oh, I made a fighter, I made a rogue, I made a sorcerer. Okay, well, I guess if I die, you guys can bring me into town and it'll be cheaper. That's cool.
That'll be nice. Saving money for your team.
Yeah.
When I go into a D&D class, all I can think of is, how can I save money? Because that always becomes the biggest barrier. It's just not having enough money.
Yeah, the written 5e adventures seem to just pour money on you.
The written ones especially, yeah. I mean, I try and... It's impossible to make it a limiting factor. You either get into the realms of something being a 9th level spell scroll that's going to cost you 50,000 gold, and of course, nobody has that. Or it's just oh, we need to pay for room and board. Okay, that'll be 5 silver per person. You just drop a bag of gold on the table, and you're like, can you make change for this? Because I haven't seen silver in months.
All we have are platinum.
Yeah. Monsters. One that I was, actually, before I move on, was there anything else with Zealot that combines well?
The 14th level one, so it's kind of high for a multi-class, but Rage Beyond Death. While you're raging, having 0 hit points doesn't knock you unconscious. You must still make death saving throws, and you suffer normal effects of taking damage while at 0. However, if you were to die due to failing saving throws, you don't die until your rage ends.
Well,
that's just a cool ability, regardless.
Yeah,
and then especially with a paladin who could heal themselves and lay on hands themselves and take care of, dying.
Right.
Or like you were saying, I guess could they cast Revivify on themselves?
No. Oh
no,
wait.
you can't cast spells while raging.
You're right.
That's the only reason that I can think of, to be honest.
And that's I think a big negative to this. So we've had barbarians. I don't know if we've done it on the show. We definitely talked about barbarians, multi-class of spellcasters, and that's always the limiting factor. You can't cast spells while raging, so it kind of gimps things.
Right.
But the way around is you take a lot of utility spells out of combat spells. Paladins don't have a lot of those. I was really looking through.
Right.
Most of their spells are combat spells. They're additional types of smites. I guess healing. You don't necessarily heal in combat.
But you can concentrate on a spell, correct?
I don't think so.
You can't concentrate at all while raging?
Because
that is important. While you're looking that up, I do want to correct something. The aura at 6th level, the aura of protection for Paladin, that's the one that gives you bonuses to saving throws equal to your charisma modifier. The Oath of Devotion gives you the inability to be frightened or charmed while in the aura at 7th level.
Yeah.
Those are different. I mix those two abilities up. Do you see anything about concentrating?
Yeah, if you are able to cast spells, you can't cast them or concentrate on them while raging.
Okay.
It's just a complete...
Well, then the only thing is that as a paladin, I mean, 95% of your spells are really going to be smites. Your spell slots, you're just going to use them on smites, so it's not that big of a deal. You could also do things like Find Steed. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I love the flavor of that as much as I like it mechanically. I mean, the steed's just like a nice thing to have, but overall, it doesn't fully make sense. You're a raging barbarian, and I don't know. Also, I've got this horse here.
Right. Yeah, that's just a little... I don't know. I guess you can make it work. It just... There's nothing about it that excites me. I guess it kind of... I know if you play just a paladin, there's kind of always that dilemma. Is like, do I say my spells for smites or use these other things? I guess it answers that question for you.
Yeah, just smites.
If you don't like versatility and choices in your characters, this answers the question for you.
It's a great first multi-class because you don't have to think about things. You just keep smiting.
Just rage and smite.
Yep, rage and smite. But I mean,
roll initiative. I rage and then I smite.
And you're also not going to be bad though. Like, you're just doing a bunch of damage and having a hard time actually getting hit. Mm-hmm. Your auras offer some protection. It's really not bad.
Yeah, it does nothing about it excites me. It's like I said, just lukewarm feeling about it all.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
One combination that I was thinking of was kind of a very protector-esque one. The Ancestral Guardian and the Oath of Redemption combine with the same type of idea of protecting your teammates more than protecting yourself. So the combination of those two, let's see, let me flip a page here. Oh, I went too far. I was on the right page. That's the worst.
You know, you don't have to make the page flipping sound effects with your mouth. It just picks up the actual page flip.
What?
I liked it.
Yeah, I want people to feel like they're here. And how are they supposed to feel like they're here if they can't hear me making page flip noises with my mouth?
I don't think blowing into the microphone is going to do it.
Did it for me, bud.
All right. So, so Ancestral Protectors, that's their 3rd level ability. The first creature you hit with an attack on your turn becomes the target of the warriors, which hinder its attacks. Until the start of your next turn, that target has disadvantage on any attack roll that isn't against you. Main important thing there is they have to attack you, which is a good way to make them have to focus, which we've talked about before. One issue in D&D with the idea of being a tank is that they can just attack something else. But this forces it. There's the big bad guy that's hitting really hard on the wizard, making them lose concentration, whatever it is. You hit the creature with your attack, and now they have to attack you or they're getting disadvantage. That's great. 6th level is Spirit Shield. If they're raging, you can use your reaction to reduce a damage that another creature takes by 2d6, which is, again, very useful. That's reducing a whole bunch of damage. After that, it kind of falls off. Like level 14 ability, you just make them take force damage when you reduce that damage by 2d6, which does increase 3d6, 4d6 at certain levels. But then the Oath of Redemption, again, just kind of follows in that line of being very big on protecting. The Channel Divinity, you can use a reaction to take damage instead of your teammate. So like that damage flows through and hits you. The only downside is that can't be reduced by the rage.
Right.
So it's just purely whatever they take, you take that as well. Which is kind of a bummer. It makes a lot of sense though. Otherwise it would be really powerful. Just somebody takes 50 damage and you're like, I'm going to take that. And now it's only 25. Like if you really want that, just succeed on your saves.
So that doesn't combine well at all then.
What do you mean?
Because that's one of the big things is the barbarian taking damage and being resistant to it.
Right, but overall the barbarians are still going to have the most health.
Right.
And it's just easier. It's easier if one person's taking the damage. That's really the main way I'm thinking about
Especially when it's one that can heal themselves.
Right, exactly.
Especially lay on hands is a good way to just dump all 30 health points of lay on hands into yourself.
and now you've got that with resistance as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can effectively be doubled potentially if it's magic and whatnot. Then it's kind of, I won't say wasted, but not nearly as good. But what else did the Paladin have? Well, I guess what I was trying to think of, like, that's kind of a tough one to combine role playing wise. So what I came up with was hopefully going to be shorter than your last week role playing idea.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago? Okay.
Cleric Warlock.
Yeah, the Cleric Warlock. I was listening to that this morning. Anyways, so like a barbarian, they're a tribesman. Let's say their village is attacked by raiders. Pretty common trope there. The barbarian does everything they can do to stop them, but after a while they fail. And when they awake, they're barely alive, feigning in and out of consciousness. Their ancestors come down to them and ask, like, what are you going to do now? You know, you're the last of our tribe. And they're like, I'm going to kill absolutely everyone. And his ancestors are like, no, you need to choose peace instead. Because the Oath of Redemption's main focus is like violence is a last resort. Whereas barbarians, it's more like the first resort. So you kind of got to tweak that a little bit. And it just sets them up on a reasonable path of being both barbarian, because that's how they were born and raised, and really going to continue trying to not so much take vengeance on the people who attacked their tribe, but more redeem them and redeem others along the way. What's that?
Forced atonement.
Yeah.
Then is it really atonement?
No,
If it's forced.
I wouldn't really call it that. But I mean, it's more of like, it's like beating your enemies within an inch of their life and saying, like, do you get it now? And then leaving them alive.
The answer is probably no.
Yeah.
You just beat them within an inch of their life. I mean, if you didn't get a speech before the battle, they're like, who the hell was that?
Just come out of nowhere.
Do you understand now? No. Who are you?
I would assume that you would probably make it pretty clear. Again, the whole point of the path of redemption is that or the Oath of Redemption is that you view violence as a last resort. So that's always a weird one to play in the party, especially if you're the only person who views violence as a last resort. And that can always be frustrating as you're just sitting on the sideline like, guys, we should talk to them, while your rogue's just getting crits left and right. It's like, I don't think they want to talk anymore.
No. That one can't talk anymore.
Yeah.
We cut out its tongue. Are you not cool with that?
Yeah.
Look, everyone, free tongues.
I mean, he conned people. He can't do that anymore. You know, there you go.
Now that's redemption right there.
Forced atonement.
Mm-hmm.
They can't bully, rob, and steal if they have no arms, legs, or tongues.
And I think they'll be a lot more humble afterwards, too.
We healed them. You also left them in the forest, so they were immediately eaten by wolves. Well, now they really can't do those things.
So that's always tough. I wish it was a little bit easier to play that out in D&D, of being a little bit more peaceful. But I mean, that's a whole thing, is a lot of times you're just forced into a corner, and it's like, no, you have to kill stuff now. But you can still make those decisions. 75% of the time you're in a fight, and it's pretty obvious that the only option is to fight. But if you take that 25% and like, hey, let's think about this. Maybe we're just going to murder these goblins in 10 seconds, and we should instead try and talk to them. And everybody in your party thinks you're an idiot. But it's a good time.
That one depends on the campaign you're
Yeah.
playing. It's pretty much all of the officially published 5e campaigns or like that, where you're kind of forced into fights, and there's really no good way around it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the homebrew ones we play are the same as well, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
You know, it's the type of thing, though, you would want everyone on board beforehand. Have a session 0, discuss it, say, hey, this sounds interesting to me, and everyone else gets on board, and that's why you are all an adventuring party together, because you share that ideal.
Right.
And the DM doesn't just consistently force you into the corner where you have, here's a chaotic evil beast that's just trying to eat you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you're stuck in its cave.
It's about giving those moral questions of like, you know, basically the easy answer here is you can kill them all. The hard answer is you have to go do something instead to make this right. And then it's,
or just not even do something, just choose to let something live, knowing that it will probably go on to hurt something, but with kind of the understanding that that's the way of things. Who am I to be the judge, jury, executioner, etc.?
Yeah.
You're A, a player character, which makes you basically a god, and B, you're also a paladin barbarian. That combination should be making that choice.
So basically what you're telling us is that you do not want to play in this campaign.
No, not really.
Okay.
And that your little combination is lame and for sissies. Oath of Conquest and Path of the Berserker. How about that?
That would be fun.
What mechanical... There's none. It's just you're mad and you want to kill everything.
That's actually kind of nice because that just shows you can do the exact opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked too kindly about Path of the Berserker because it's just not that great of an ability. You
the
have extra
third
rage.
attack. It's the third attack while you're raging, which it's not bad, but
No.
the level of exhaustion sucks.
Yeah.
But as a paladin, that is probably the best way to get off 3 smites that I can think of.
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
And that's that's actually partially why I mentioned at the beginning of this. This is one of those DM frustrators, I think. A, you're going to be hard to kill. B, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage.
Right.
And C, you've got this tucked away for the big bad evil guy. If the DM has not sufficiently reduced your spell slots, you can basically nuke him from orbit.
Yeah, even more. Paladins have some spells to get rid of exhaustion, I'm pretty sure. Lesser Restoration
I
gets
think.
rid of exhaustion.
Do paladins get that?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Yes. That'd be kind of weird if they didn't.
Yeah. But so I mean that's even less of a big
there
deal.
we go. Okay.
Sadly, we did conclude you can't concentrate through it, but hold person would come behind really well. I mean, if you had another party member with hold person,
Do the Oath of Conquest get hold person?
they do.
Okay.
But
Yeah, as you said,
You
you
can't do
can't
all
concentrate it. Yep, that's fine. But what is nice about this is I feel like you're still pretty useful, even if you're not raging.
Yeah.
You know, like usually you're raging as a barbarian, you get enough that it doesn't seem like you have to hold out too much or too
Right.
often.
And that comes back on. Is it short rest or long? I think it was short.
I'm pretty
what
sure
are
it's
you
a-
asking?
Barbarian rages, when do they come back? I'm almost positive it's a long rest.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just a long rest. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, like if you do get into that scenario where you've been fighting all day and you're out of rages, you're not worthless in any manner. Now you can just use your concentration spells.
Yeah.
It's just the issue of you're kind of weaker of both. Like
A
you're-
little bit.
you know,
Yeah, you just kind of diluted the paladin then.
right? Because the paladin just scales so well linearly. The barbarian,
Less so. There's
Yeah.
not one numerical feature. The Barbarian has one, but it's very minor. Your rage damage scales linearly.
right?
And how much you could rage, too.
But even that, it's from the get-go, you've got most of your kit.
Yeah.
You got
That's
smite
true.
and you got rage.
Yeah. Reckless attack, I think, pairs well with paladin. Just because so you could attack with advantage. You can give yourself advantage for a turn. Everything that attacks you has advantage then. But with the paladin, since you're then rolling all your attacks with advantage, it increases your chance to crit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing a paladin loves more than a crit.
Nope.
Because then they could choose to smite after they know they crit, and then double their smite damage.
Paladins
yeah.
are such garbage.
And of course, at 9th level as a barbarian, you get that brutal critical. So brutal critical lets you have an extra damage die. This might be a good time to take the great axe over the great sword as a paladin. It's not very common because usually you're going to go great weapon master, which lets
Yeah.
you re-roll your
Ones and
damage
twos.
dies if they're 1s and 2s. But I'm not sure what fighting style you'd take. That's a whole separate conversation. But none of them are particularly bad. Just kind of up to you.
Yeah.
But if you are given that great axe a go, you've got brutal criticals. On top of that, give yourself reckless attack. On top of that, give yourself smites. On top of that, give yourself rage damage. Whew, it's an exhausting amount of damage.
Yeah, the more we talk about this, the more I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah,
I
and-
was coming into this, like I said, lukewarm. But, also, then fighting style for paladins. Barbarians don't get fighting styles. It's
Correct.
like I've always known it, but I never think about it because it seems like they would because they're
Yeah.
just martial classes, but they don't. So then this gives you a way for your barbarian to have fighting style.
Right.
And so, yeah, like a great sword wielding barbarian who could reroll 1s and 2s on that die while raging and smiting is kind of insane. You don't reroll the 1s and 2s on smites, do you?
No.
Just weapon damage.
Just
only.
weapon damage.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, oh man. Yeah. So one partial issue with this is you do have to have a lot of stats You need your strength for your damage. You
Right.
need charisma at least 13.
Yes.
Your
Those are the minimum requirements.
Right.
I suppose those are 13.
strength 13, charisma 13. You're probably not going to focus too much on charisma unless you want your auras to be stronger, which is up to you, but you're not going to be doing things with spell saves. You shouldn't be because you're raging and you're doing a bunch of other stuff. But you need your constitution high if you want to not have armor. If you want to not wear armor, you need a high constitution because barbarians get their armor class from dexterity and constitution. And if you don't do that, which is fine, you don't need to, you lose that extra 10 feet of movement that they get at
I think third.
third level.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Or it's it's fifth level, fast movement.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like that's totally unheard of. You can just go heavy armor and kind of forego you almost need to forego the heavy armor and not worry so much about dexterity. You're going to get advantage on dexterity saving throws because of danger sense that you get at level 2 as a barbarian, which is
Right.
good, makes
Yeah.
it less important. But overall, that's just a time where the synergy definitely breaks off and you have to make a pretty hard decision there. Because as a barbarian, you normally want your constitution pretty high. I'd say a lot of times charisma and intelligence are going to be your dumb stats as a barbarian, but now you're taking one of those, charisma, and making it a necessary component. So this definitely is not a totally min-maxed class on the skill trees.
You mean the abilities?
Yeah, like
Attributes.
your skills, your
Yeah.
strength, dex,
Yeah.
all those. You're not going to have strength and charisma at 20 and then also constitution at 20 and like all these things. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. I think the first one's going to be charisma for sure, which make your auras just a lot less powerful.
Right. But still good.
Still good. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just overall not bad.
Right.
Just, you're getting an extra 1 on all of your saving throws and so are all of your friends. Cool.
Yeah.
Who are within 10 feet of you.
And yeah, in terms of just role playing, just a general statement on it, I don't think it's that hard to justify. We've talked about it previously with Paladins. So a lot of people seem to assume Paladins are connected to a god, and that's very common, but they absolutely do not have to be.
Correct.
It's just a fanatical devotion to an oath.
Right.
With very strict tenets, and you follow it to a T. And if you are into that enough, I was looking for a more powerful word than that.
Devoted?
Devoted to your oath enough, sure. You gain power from it. You draw power from it. That's just kind of, I
Right.
guess, the metaphysics of this world. It's just
Yeah,
how it works for
that's
some
fine.
reason. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. So it seems to make sense that a barbarian would kind of lead to that sort of devotion, to
Right.
that sort of extreme end of things, because they have such a strong focus on harnessing their inner anger and rage and in certain ways. And I just feel like there's just kind of this connection there.
Mm-hmm.
So it can really be anything. It's just that you have like Will was saying, you're the berserker barbarian, and you decide you have such this desire and belief that your lot in life is to go out and to just conquer as many people as you can, not just defeat your enemies, but destroy them. And
It is not
Like that. It's
enough to merely defeat an enemy in battle, Kevin. Your victory must be overwhelming so much
That's
that
what
your
it was.
enemies' will to fight is shattered forever. A blade can end a life, fear can end an empire.
I'm glad you looked at it. I knew I wasn't doing that quote justice.
Once you have conquered, tolerate no dissent. Your word is law. God, it really. Somebody sat down and was like, all right, how do we make the most obnoxious paladin at the table into a subclass?
They did it. They succeeded.
Yeah.
Once again, looking into the races, which we normally stray away from, this is a time that we always talk about the half-orc being on the side of ignoring Groomsh a lot of times. This would be one time where the half-orcs might be just full-on Groomsh is God, and we're here to conquer, and we're here to kill. I mean,
How does that fit into a party? Who's going to join that guy?
hey,
Evil campaign.
evil campaign, or
There you go.
or just effective. This dude's just too good at what he does, and he keeps on killing what we tell him to kill. So, like, hey,
Yeah, the rest of
It's
the party
fine.
sees him as a finely honed weapon. We just need to point him in the right direction. If we're not here, he's just gonna go nuts.
and I like that idea. Like, oh man, it'd be so cool. You just put him on a chain collar all the time, lead him
God.
through town. It's like, oh no, what's he gonna do?
I guess kind of dark.
But is it not supposed to be? This guy freaks out and just kills everything near him. Guys, don't just let him loose. That's awful. That's dark. That's messed up. You got to keep that contained.
So he's insane. He's just
Yeah.
chaotic. Okay.
Yep.
I assumed that you still have like some semblance of like a person there.
Oh, maybe, but this is very intimidating. So, so we're gonna use that.
Yeah, I don't know.
When I'm,
All right.
no, I knew that rung familiar of something for Bug's Life.
Is it?
The crickets there was the crazy cricket
Uh-huh.
that they kept on like a chain and they would use it to threaten people. They
Yeah.
like
yeah.
take it to threaten the ants. They like bring them out and like let the chain loose, and all the ants got terrified of it.
Yes,
That's-
exactly.
Yes, that's kind of
Every character I've ever made is actually an allegory to A Bug's Life.
well naturally. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, everything in life leads back to Bug's Life.
Right.
A lot of my stuff's from B movie. Just putting it out there.
Well,
Not ants.
Ants
the
was terrible.
actual like copy of it.
Ants was like the adult version of Bug's Life.
no, it wasn't. It was the bad version of Bug's Life.
No, it was
That
like the adult
yeah,
version.
I understand that.
It had
was,
Woody Allen.
I know, and it was a mistake. It was an affront to God. So
Everything with Woody Allen is. He's a terrible man.
That's a bold statement.
it's not that
It's
bold of a
not.
statement, to be honest.
I don't know much about him.
Well, that's.
his daughter.
I thought it. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's unimportant.
But he was in Ants.
He was in Ants,
And we did just create the character from Bug's Life.
which is fine
It's fine.
because he was a really interesting character.
Mm.
Doesn't matter. You can make him an interesting character. The point is, it has been done before, which means it has validity. Here at Monsters and Multiclass, we're not about being original. We're here about being good.
What? No, we're not about that either.
Oh, well,
This is a pretty mediocre idea overall.
you think?
Yeah, it was a joke just to counter signal you. It's like, oh, peace and love. Like, no, conquest and hate. Yeah, I would not willingly party with a berserker who had taken the path of conquest.
Again, if you feel like you need to control them.
It depends
I'd
on
call
the
the
campaign,
police.
though. I mean, it always
Yeah.
it comes down to like, what are you playing? If his thing is he wants to conquer demons, okay, yeah, I'll follow this guy. I hate demons too.
Yeah. It really depends on the campaign. Or the really classic thing of being able to party good characters and evil characters is a mutual goal.
Right.
There was the homeroom campaign that you run. I had the Paladin to Earthnul. I've talked about him briefly. And he was a lawful evil Paladin with a good aligned party. But they had the same goal. It was to stop the big bad evil guy of that. He was sent to seek them out and work with them. And so he reined himself in to achieve this greater goal.
Was that the guy with the contracts?
No,
That guy was
that was
nice.
Hitar.
Okay.
The guy with the contracts was the ranger half-orc.
Right.
He was the monster hunter.
He was good. What was his thing? He just always had he had a magical item that anytime he
it
pulled.
never ended up getting revealed.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it was necessary. It was
Yeah.
just great as it was.
Yeah.
But he had a magical contract, let's say, or a bag that
Yeah, it
just
was a
like he
magical
has
bag
his
that
contract
could
and
produce
and
contracts.
every time he pulls it out, he can change one thing on it so that it always just suits this specific situation of saying like, this isn't in my contract, so I can't do it.
Right.
I liked that. That's
Yeah.
good. And everyone's like, oh, he's just got a really specific contract. And I'm just sitting there like, I hate this. This is dumb.
You're the one who allowed it as
I
the
know.
DM.
I mess up
I asked
so
you for
much. Why am I such a bad DM? I just make my life harder.
That guy actually, the half-orc Hitar, reminds me. I wanted to elaborate. You mentioned Groomsh. I
Mm-hmm.
think you kind of hit on I think a nuanced point. A lot of people aren't going to know. So with orcs, the orcs' will is Groomsh's will. Groomsh is their god, and it's to go forth and conquer and pillage and take the land because he was tricked by the other gods, and so his people, the orcs, have no place of their own. Half-orcs and orcs have no choice in the matter, pretty much. Half-orcs have a choice to follow Groomsh's will or to fight it. And if they choose to fight it, it is a constant fight. They live their own life and they ignore the kind of that orcish side of them. But his will and his voice is kind of always in their head. So that's what Jared was talking about earlier about the half orc ignoring Groomsh, but now you have one going full on into Groomsh.
Yeah.
And the problem, and this is why a half orc almost always chooses to fight it, is Groomsh's will never aligns with anybody else, as Kevin elaborated. He's just mad. So in your adventuring party, devotion to Groomsh is not going to be like a widely accepted, like, oh yeah, totally, we're down with the Groomsh.
We're down with the Groomsh. I like that. It's good phrasing.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, there could be.
There
At
could
the
be.
end of the day, it depends on the campaign.
Orc campaign.
Orc campaigns
We
would
should do
be
an orc campaign.
fun. I was actually looking. Do you guys know that orcs are official races in some manner? I don't know where they're at.
They're Volo's Guide for Monsters Races.
Oh, they're the monsters races. Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah, they're
We always ignore those.
that's
No,
not all of
We
them.
did one.
The Untype Pureblood.
Yes.
That's not a monstrous race.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
No, it
Oh, yeah,
wasn't.
it is.
It was just one of the standard ones.
Ooh, no,
No,
it's
the
a
monstrous
monster.
races had like kobolds, goblins, hobgoblins,
And
bugbears.
Yutais.
Did not have.
Utahs are not good people.
They're not good people, but they're
That's like
also
literally the
not
point of Volos.
in the monstrous area of Volos.
They are in the monstrous area of Volos.
Oh, you're gonna feel like such a
You
dummy.
can all right, keep talking as I look it up.
All right, point
Fill the
is,
air.
Yeah, they're one of the only races. Or I guess those monstrous races were the only ones that actually get negative attributes, because I believe
I
the
thought they were.
pure orcs got a -2 to intelligence.
That was the DMG. I don't actually think the orcs are in here, are they?
It's
Yes, they are.
Okay, now find me Yuntai.
Oh, it's right
Monstrous
after orc.
Adventurers.
What's that?
It's right after orc.
No way.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Yeah,
Is it Yuntai or Yuntai pureblood?
You're in type pureblood.
Yeah, so
Wow.
here's the non-monsters races. Asimar, Furbog, Goliath, Kenku, Lizardfolk, Tabaxi, and Triton.
Okay.
Then the next section is Monstrous Adventurers, where you have Bugbears, Goblins, Hobgoblins, Kobolds, Oaks, and Yuntide Pureblood.
Oaks.
Oaks?
Orcs.
Yeah, Oaks.
Oh.
You like oaks?
You like Hags?
That's like the third time we've made that joke with
Not
no
on air,
context.
though.
No,
Yeah.
I have made that joke secretly and quietly while you're talking.
And Jared never gets it. I don't know if any of our other listeners... It was a pretty big movie.
I don't know what movie it
in
was.
the 90s.
Are you going to say
Snatch.
what?
Snatch.
You
No.
can't say that on air, Kevin.
I don't know it.
It's a good one.
You ever see Kangaroo Jack, though? It's a good movie.
I don't think I have.
Oh. Well, that's okay.
It was about a Roo who, I don't know, he was computer animated, that's all I know.
He stole some money, and then they had to go through Australia to catch him. I'm not going to talk about Kangaroo Jack. I'm sorry I brought it up. It's the first thing that came to mind. So, Barbarian Paladins.
Well, could Kangaroo Jack be a Barbarian Paladin?
No.
Kangaroos. Wait, what's
No.
the kangaroo race?
There is no kangaroo race. Wait, did the new Magic the Gathering content add a kangaroo race? It added-
Killcasters via Ravnica. No,
It did not.
it did not.
Okay, good. Well,
It had some weird stuff.
it added a
but
hippo
not-
race and an elephant race, I'm pretty sure.
No, those aren't official. It's kind of
What do you,
No,
what do you
the-
mean they're not
the
official,
GIF.
Kevin?
Yeah.
GIF.
What do you mean?
I-
It's GIF. I'm pretty sure.
GIFF.
Kevin,
I'm pretty sure it's a GIF.
there is absolutely a
I'm
player
not-
race.
We're not going to get into
No,
this.
no, no.
argument
I'm not
on
having
camera.
that argument. I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oops, that's the downfall of the podcast. Just somewhat in the vicinity of the GIF versus GIF debate. That's it.
No, we're
Podcast
talking
is
about
done.
the race.
Oh no, some of our listeners are
admittedly, I never
objectively
spec-
wrong on this.
I never specifically looked into the hippo race, but I saw on Twitter it was a D&D Beyond thing. And the tweet was pretty much saying, though they're not official races, what sort of crazy stories do you have to bring your GIF into your campaign? Or something
They're
like
not
that.
No.
official in, like, Faerun. but-
Idiots. Idiots. I'm surrounded by idiots. There's a hippo race, and that's like monsters or some stuff. And there's an elephant race in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
Both of those are in
Ravnica.
Guildmasters.
Ravnica. No,
Whatever.
There's only one, and it's the Elephant Man. And he's real.
Okay.
And he's huge.
Yeah, I still need to read that book.
It's all right.
I don't know, because it's not a area. It's its own realm, right?
Right.
Ravnica is
Yep.
it's not an area.
Ravnica it's basically Magic the Gathering's version of Coruscant. It's a city. It's a planet that's just a city.
Okay,
So it's got lots of lore and flavor.
that's kind of cool. I guess if we ever wanted to,
It's an elephant.
Yeah,
let
that's
me see
a
this picture.
really cool elephant guy.
Whoa,
But I can.
that's scary.
It's super scary, but I'm not gonna allow an elephant guy in my campaigns.
Why?
it just doesn't fit.
How about a centaur?
I don't like the centaur either, but that's for different reasons.
How about
I don't think the centaur are official. I think that's only
that was a UA?
yeah.
no? It's in Ravnica.
Seriously?
Yes.
Was it really?
Yeah, they
Centaurs,
still climb ladders.
goblins. Yeah, no, they have to. It's 4 feet for every 1 foot.
But yes, they can still climb ladders.
Yes, they can, Kevin. They have arms. Oh, there's they added minotaurs too.
I know. I could deal with a minotaur more than a centaur.
Yeah.
As a playable race. Did
Did they ever clarify if you can ride the centaur?
Yeah, you can ride a centaur.
So a paladin could use a centaur as their mount.
it's rude.
Is it? I guess I didn't read the lore on that. Do they not like being ridden? In which case, why do they even have horse bodies?
I don't think they were like, you know what? Instead of being a regular baby, I'm gonna have a horse body. I don't think that was the conclusion they reached.
Can't they just like cut it off at birth and then they grow into a regular human?
No, then they would grow into a satyr.
Oh, yeah. Goat legs,
Idiot.
but horse legs.
Yeah, it's just like half horse.
Wait,
God, that'd be
quarter horse? Just the front.
Well, you
legs
were
of the
half horse, but you were a quarter of the horse.
Yeah.
So half of you. Oh man,
This is too much.
centaur math.
I'm sure cutting off half the digestive tract wouldn't be too useful. Where's a centaur's stomach? Is it in the horse part or is it in the human part?
I'm sure there's elaborate, detailed photographs, medical records, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
I mean, any depiction of a centaur, the human half is like it's below the stomach.
Correct.
Like they have abs usually and all that. That's
Right.
where your stomach is.
Right.
But then you have the horse belly.
Right.
Maybe they have two. Like it's like a cow, but they have like the 4 stomachs.
I just don't see
So are they
what benefit that would really be.
ruminants?
Are they
Do
what?
eat ruminants? They eat grass?
Yeah, it turns out that's all they can do.
Well, maybe the first stomach is for like human food, and then the second stomach is for like grass and
Horse food.
horse food, other horse related things.
Yeah, do centaurs have really complicated diets? They need a 50-50 split it between the nutritional needs of a human and the nutritional needs
Oh
of a
God,
horse.
guys.
Yeah.
Just imagine asking, like, how's that work? And then the centaur just like opens up a big horse mouth from the like horse body part. It's like, this is the horse part. I feed the horse part. Every time I imagine stuff, it's always, oh, there's also a huge scary mouth on it.
Just anytime you imagine anything,
Anything.
yeah, like, hey, Will, imagine a watermelon.
Oh, it's huge. Look at that mouth. He's got teeth. Remember Stool's mouth? Ugh.
Stool didn't have a mouth.
I know. And then I immediately imagine being like some kind of horrible clam trap thing.
Yeah, Stool was our mycondid friend in Out of the Abyss.
My conded sprout.
Mycondid sprout friend. They are teeny tiny, size of a big old soccer ball, and from what we can tell, do not have mouths.
Yeah, based on the depiction given of them in Out of the Abyss. Just a mushroom with legs.
I miss Stool every day.
Weren't we talking about a multi-class?
We were, but centaurs are kind of the ultimate multi-class because they're multi-race. I feel like we did say most of what needs to be said about Paladin Barbarian.
Yeah.
I think it honestly is pretty good. I think there's a lot of mechanical viability. I don't think it's the most interesting combination in the world. You're getting a bunch of damage. You're good at taking damage, but so are a lot of classes.
Right.
I feel like this is something that you can really just feel free to branch into at any point. If you are a barbarian, I'd say it's kind of hard the other way around. If you're a paladin, to just suddenly become a barbarian and push into that class.
Well,
Any opinions on that?
it depends what it is. If it's like Berserker or something like that, you just have kind of an unstabilizing event and they have this unquelled rage.
Okay.
Yeah,
in
it's
you, I
not
guess,
it's not
but-
this mastery like we talked about fighter where you really
Right,
have to become
yeah.
that. You really just are mad.
Okay.
Yeah, but, well, then if you get to like
Really
the ancestral, not ancestral, I've learned to say it.
Ancestral.
That's like a throwback to episodes like 2, 3, and 4 or something where I kept saying ancestral, but barbarian instead of ancestral because I can't talk. That one's a little hard to justify.
Kevin, if you have to explain the reference every time, it's not a good reference.
There's like 18 hours of this stuff.
Ugh.
You can't just assume everybody has listened to all of it. So,
I haven't listened to any of it.
and it just grows by at least an hour every day, every
All right,
week.
Kevin. What about like you just
But-
find out you have ancestors?
Just find out. Well, I mean, that can still
I guess,
be
yeah,
like a
you can
defining
have-
moment.
Yeah,
Where,
like you almost die. Your ancestors, you see your ancestors, and they speak with you, and then like or there's some sort of magic that kind of breaks the veil, and they're able to communicate with you in some way.
right.
The totem barbarian, it's you have a nature epiphany. I don't know.
That one's harder.
If you take some ayahuasca and go to the woods,
you
It
have a
opened
spirit
up my
quest.
third
Yeah.
eye of rage.
I guess that's where it kind of
Yeah, that's where like
falls off.
any justification. It's like that peaceful moment, like becoming one with nature,
Mhm.
and also this unquelled rage.
right. Path of the Storm Herald. No,
You got struck by lightning.
Now he's got a brain injury and thinks he's a barbarian. Oops.
But yeah, I think we should probably move on to Monster of the Week.
That sounds good to me.
All right, this week's monster is the Hags, Part 1. I'll explain that in a minute. So the Hags are pretty much your stereotypical old school cartoony witches. The Swamp Hag is actually literally green. They are evil crones that just get the light and causing pain and torment in others. Each one has their own motives and specifics that the ways they like to do it, but that's really the common thread through all of them. They're potent spellcasters, manipulative, very intelligent, smart, and can really just be a big threat overall. You could build entire campaigns around just having a hag as the big bad evil guy just because of how good they could be at pulling strings behind the scenes. We're specifically splitting this into 2 parts. Right now it's part 1. We're just focusing on the hags of the monster manual. There's 3 of them in there. Sea Hag, Night Hag, and Green Hag. The reason being is, so they're all kind of similar in a way, but at the same time, each one is very different because they have their own motives and ways to go about causing their torment and whatever they're trying to accomplish. So each one sort of warrants its own discussion, but not its own unique podcast. Then if you fold in Volos, which has an entire chapter on hags, kind of to the level that Knowles did, and I think another 3 or so hags added in.
Two.
Yeah, another 2 hags, higher level hags added in. It made it hard to put it all in just one episode. So this one is the hags from the Monster Manual, and then probably 3 or 4 episodes from now we'll do hags part 2, where we'll talk about hags from Volos specifically, and also dissect the chapter on hags and all of the lore associated with it. So all that being said, what are you guys' thoughts on the hags?
All right. First thought is, so hags by themselves, just reading through their stat block, none of them are very impressive, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The Green Hag challenge rating 3. You mentioned them being potentially a big bad evil guy. Wouldn't be the most exciting end fight. Night Hag is challenge rating 5, a little bit better. Sea Hag challenge rating 2. So overall, like by themselves, they're not that great. But the entire point of hags is a lot of times they work in these covens. And when they're in covens, they get some additional spells, and I think it's just spells, that they have a shared connection in using. And that's where things start to really get interesting. I mean, they get up to 6 level spells, which is just so much more useful than you'd get from a regular level 5 challenge rating.
Yeah.
So to talk into what makes these 3 ones very different is just their goals, as you said, their motives for causing torment. Green hags really just make you think of the stereotypical Halloween witches sitting around a cauldron and
In a swamp.
yeah, just something that's just so obvious. But they offer a lot of opportunity with their illusory appearance. They can just change their form into another humanoid and basically lure people in, trick them. It gives you a lot of setup for any type of arc, or as you said, a full campaign. I don't know
Like a smaller.
Yeah, very small campaign.
Not like Wizards of the Coast officially published 1 to 15 Save the World adventure.
Right.
But I mean, you could get quite a few sessions off of a hag just fucking with things.
Right, which makes me think of an arc. Say, I always split these up into like 3 things. There's like session monsters, there's arc monsters, and then there's campaign monsters. These ones I definitely put into that arc.
Okay,
where
that's
maybe,
fair.
you're walking into a village and it's always my setup. Classic setup. Walk into a village, something bad's happening. Children are being stolen. the
Why are
water's
children
tainted.
being stolen?
I don't know. We have to go
That's why
figure
you're
it
there.
out. So then
Would
you
you
go.
actually want to? Are you using that?
Sure.
Because that's a fun fact about hags, how they make more hags.
Oh, yeah. You should bring that up.
So, monster is motherhood. Hags propagate by stealing babies and eating them. And once they've eaten them, like the next day, they give birth to what looks like a human baby. And here's the kicker. And it's actually really lucky that it's their 13th birthday because they look normal up until the 13th birthday, and then bam, they're a hag. If it was like 23rd birthday or something, wouldn't that be really annoying? You like marry a chick and you're like, wow, you're really nice. Can I meet your mom? And she's like, no, no, no. And then fucking one day, it's just like, oh, she's a hag.
I mean, it brings up a lot of things because you could even have it be kind of like the Stephen King story.
Pennywise?
Because Pennywise, perfect, because it happens maybe every 13 years in this village. Children get stolen and then they return the next day. Everyone's like none the wiser, like, hey, what happened? This was weird. And then on their 13th birthday, just boom, they turn into hags. And maybe there was a mass disappearance where 10 kids were stolen, and then just you happen to walk in at the wrong day in this village because everybody's turning into a hag. And it's saying it's the start of something, huh?
Time thing.
Well, there's
But they take a kid and eat a kid and then give birth at a later point in time to another kid.
Correct.
So it's not like they're going to, let me take these 10 kids in and poof, they got the hag virus and put them back.
correct. I'm talking about like a coven of hags.
It's actually
Doing this in an
Oh.
organized manner.
It's only
Okay.
a week.
Yes,
They
it only
eat the
takes
kid,
a week.
and a week later, they pop out a new hagified kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, if there's a coven of them.
And
Yes.
the only thing is it's a girl. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you can eat the boys and then create new hags out of that.
It doesn't say you can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
They don't discriminate.
I'm not a hag scientist. Hagology.
So the Green Hags specifically has the obsession of tragedy. The Green Hags revel in the fallings and tragedies of other creatures. They derive joy from bringing people low and seeing hope turn into despair, not just for individuals, but also for whole nations. So I feel like everything always comes back to
the Nagpa.
Yeah, they're kind of like low-key Nagpa.
The Nagpod specifically worked with the hags, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Correct.
Yeah, he said
You're
they're
correct.
like a lower challenge rating Nagpa.
Yeah. And I mean, the first thing that always pops into my mind is that their spells by themselves are really underwhelming. The Green Hag specifically's innate spell casting allows it to cast Dancing Lights, Minor Illusion, and Vicious Mockery. None of those are particularly good spells. Vicious Mockery isn't too bad. It gives disadvantage on the next attack they make, I believe, which is good. It's like 1d6 psychic damage or something. It's nothing.
Vicious Mockery?
Yeah.
1d4.
1d4.
And then you get disadvantage next attack.
Right. So, I mean, it's really not a damage dealing spell.
No.
When it comes to damage, these things aren't too scary by themselves.
Right. Yeah, so you don't use them that way. They're not like a set piece encounter. They're
Correct.
arc builders.
Right.
They're the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes. They come into town disguised. I think all the hags except for even the sea hags, I think, can disguise themselves.
Yeah, they just live on the coast.
Yeah.
That's the big difference.
Well, they're the ugliest and they hate beauty. That's their whole thing.
Right.
And they just seeing them. It's like somebody seeing a sea hag in their true form causes fear. It's one of their abilities.
Right.
But so they'll go into towns, cities, disguised as other people and other things, pull the strings, nudge things in certain ways, lure people in, make deals. So I think if you have a party just fighting a green hag, just like you run into them in the swamp and it's like, I'm the green hag, I'm going to attack you. And then you have your fight. You're kind of fucked up as a DM.
Right.
It needs to be an ordeal to get to them, to actually kill them and stop them, to figure out what's going on and who's behind it, with a lot of misdirection, possibly going after the wrong people for a while. And then
A witch hunt?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly, yes. Yeah. And then once you actually finally figure it out, they should have individuals fighting for them, because these individuals have been so desperate they made a deal with this hag and they need her alive.
Mm-hmm. Or if you need just like some throwaway minions, red caps, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
Those are supposed to be minions for hags a lot of times.
Yeah.
Now that would be stripping away a lot of their backstory that we've talked about, where they're born from a murderous event, and more of just like a hag throwing red caps at people, which is, fine, but it's a minion that you can specifically take, which I always like.
Yeah.
Flavorful minions.
Yeah. That'd be a fun one. And then, sea hags, ugly inside and out. They are by far the ugliest of all hags, with slimy scales covering their pallid skin. Their hair resembles seaweed and covers their emaciated body, and glassy eyes seem like lifeless as a doll's. Although they could hide their true form from under a veil of illusion, the hag is cursed to forever appear ugly. Even their illusions are, like, if their illusionary appearance are always have to be ugly.
Okay. That's good. You can always do the old ugly woman, like, you lured in by her delicious pies or something.
Right. I think that literally happened to us in Curse of Strahd.
Yeah, I think so.
You dummies ate the pie.
Yeah.
It was delicious.
I got to be honest.
And then that was a TPK.
It was...
I think we ran out.
1 or 2 people escaped.
Oh, yeah. It was like one person lived, and then the DM just decided, all right, they're captured, and then...
That was a whole weird thing. It's not important right now. We never did go back and kill those hags, though, because we never finished Curse of Strahd.
No.
So that was always disappointing.
Yeah.
But the Night Hag... So
Yes,
they
cool.
are extremely interesting and give you a lot more options because they are nightmares is the best way to put it. They can go into the ethereal plane, and while on the ethereal plane, the hag magically touches a sleeping humanoid on the material plane, and they can basically just push nightmares and dreadful visions into that person. I guess it doesn't have to be them sleeping. They can just be at any point.
No, it's when they're sleeping.
Oh, it does say
A
sleeping humanoid.
Yep.
Yeah. So what is it? So as long as the contact persists, the target has dreadful visions. If these visions last for at least 1 hour, the target gains no benefits from its rest, and its hit point maximum is reduced by 1d10. And if it reduces it to 0, the target dies. And if the target was evil, its soul is trapped in the hag's soul bag. So it
and
lets
the
you...
only thing to restore the hit point maximum is a greater restoration spell.
Correct. So what's nice about this is it allows the Night Hag to really mess with the party.
Yeah.
And a big part of it is, I believe, the Nightmare Hauntings. It's trying to push that person to do evil things.
Yes.
To make them evil in order to put them in their soul bag. Because it's got its soulmongers. While a humanoid sleeps, a Night Hag can straddle the person ethereally and intrude upon its dreams. Any creature with true sight can see it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's repeating a lot what this
Yep.
was.
So, fills its head with fear. I've got something here. Why is it doing this?
It's trying to drive them to commit evil deeds.
Right. Oh, and
So,
it wants
yeah,
to transport them to Hades.
Yeah.
So, I guess its reasoning for it, is that really explained, or is it just
No.
want to collect?
It's just hatred
Okay.
for all living things.
Yeah.
Just capturing the
just kind
soul
of
and
weird.
bringing it. So, yeah.
There's like an elaborate, like, if I was evil and I hated things, I would just kill them. I wouldn't
Well, no,
straddle
it's
them in
beyond
their
that.
sleep
So it's
for
in
hours
the
and
world of
hours and then
D&D,
steal their soul.
when there's very clear, concrete gods in different planes that you go to after you die. Like, I'm just going to kill this lawful good person, and then they'll go be with their god in their lawful good plane and all that. This one is you corrupt them.
Right.
So it's kind of, I got the impression it's sort of, it's kind of like forcing them to do it. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this to you every single night until you just wither and die this horrible death. Or you do this thing for me.
Right.
And this thing is an obviously evil act, and it corrupts their soul. And then the hag's probably going to just not stop anyways.
Right, it's
And
gonna
just kill
happen
them anyways,
regardless.
and then they have their soul.
But yeah, I mean, this would be a good time that, PCs enter scenario. People have been they're haunted in these ways, and their dreams are getting messed up, and everybody knows that once your dreams get messed up, it's basically like the Ring. You've got 7 days, that type of thing.
Yeah.
After a certain point, you're going to die, or you're going to start acting odd. Seeing as their sleep gets interrupted, you're going to start getting exhaustion.
Right.
And that just, can really, from a role play perspective, you can use that where these people start losing their minds entirely until just after a couple days, they just die. And the PCs come in, they're maybe investigating it. That night, they go to sleep, and one of them's affected by it.
Right.
And now they kind of know what's happening. Not really. They're just having terrible nightmares. It's really it. I doubt anyone in your party is going to have true sight. That's a really uncommon trait.
Right. That's the only way to see the hag doing this.
Correct. I can't think of any race that gets true sight.
No,
Maybe
no play races get true sight. There's spells you can cast to give you temporary true sight.
It's like level 8 to get true sight.
Are there any warlock invocations? I don't think there are.
I think that's one of them. I think it's like 15th level requirement.
Okay,
true
that
sight's
sounds right.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not going to be fighting these things when you're at that. I mean,
15th level warlock would blow this thing off the material plane.
Yeah. So I mean that could be a really cool way because now you've got a bit of a race against time.
It is an excuse to go to the ethereal plane, though.
That's true. You could have them fight it on the ethereal plane, which is always nice. I don't think does it. Oh, it's an action for it to enter the ethereal plane.
Yeah,
so that's pretty nice. It does have the sleep spell, of course. I wish there was a better spell for putting things to sleep.
I don't know. I think sleep pretty much does.
Well, I know. I understand.
I mean, they wake
that.
up and are like,
but like sleep is as a spell itself just not that great.
No.
It's based off of hit points and
it's great at low levels. About 5, it just completely falls off.
Right.
And like levels 1, 2, 3, it's an encounter ruining spell.
Right. Yeah.
After that, it's like you might get one damaged enemy.
Yeah, totally pointless. So that one, I mean, they're all just really good setups. I feel like the Sea Hag less so. It's more of just location-based Green Hag, kind of.
That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Night Hag is a very different way to go about this, and it's so ugly.
Yeah.
All of them are so ugly. It's great. They made them just particularly terrifying. Once again, I love the art in D&D. I think that's the only reason I play this game.
You could always have the Sea Hag riding in on Hydras.
No, they didn't ride on Hydras. They rode on giant frogs with a Hydra behind it.
Oh, okay.
That was the start of a campaign for me.
This was a while ago before we were really diving into the specifics of monsters, and Jared was homebrewing this campaign and just trying to throw together kind of an interesting encounter with complete disregard to lore.
Mm-hmm. I made that
just
pretty
trying
clear.
to interesting combinations and fighting different things, so we're not just fighting goblins and whatever all the time. So we're on a beach, and out from the surf comes in a group of hydras. And then
one Hydra.
One Hydra, and then a group of bullywugs with sea hags riding them to attack us.
It was awesome.
Now reading it completely throws it in the face of all lore of these hags, but it was cool.
I mean, my idea was just these hags had gotten together and summoned a Hydra to attack the area. And it's like, well, why are they riding frogs? And it's like, because otherwise hags aren't that strong and you guys are all level 12.
Hags aren't going to just run in an assault on a city.
They are when they have a Hydra behind them.
Still no, but
No. Yeah.
Yes, it did not make sense.
Pull the strings behind the scenes.
wait a second. I think that was you just trying to make a Kobold Fight Club thing work, wasn't it?
Yeah. I literally ran something in Cobalt Fight Club, which is fantastic for encounter building as a starting point. But you do need to tweak it a little bit to make the encounters make sense.
Yes.
But I was like, I'm just going to try it out. And I don't know. I still stick to it. It was hilarious.
It was.
And
No,
that's
it was fun.
all that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
And after that, everything started to become a lot more sensical.
Yes.
Afterwards.
Less stupid.
Yeah. But come on, let me have some stupid fights every once in a while. They're good. And everybody just sits there and looks at me like, wait, why are these things fighting together? And I'm like, just shut up. They mechanically go really well
Just
together.
fight 'em.
Yeah, just fight them. Dance, monkey, dance. But that's what I like about playing with you guys. You guys do just kind of accept that. Whereas with other groups, like you guys understand it from the mechanical standpoint of like, oh, these just might be interesting to all fight together. So like, cool, let's just, how do we kill them?
Of disbelief.
Right,
You
right.
kind of like work it out in your mind, just move on.
Where other groups I play with are more like, this is too hard. Like, why did you put these things together? It doesn't make sense and it's difficult. And I'm like, aw, the monkey's not dancing.
Fucking casuals.
But overall, especially because of this podcast, definitely
We now
no
know how to
encounters.
do hags.
Hags, yes, as well as a bunch of other
But
stuff.
yeah, no, they definitely give it a even just the monster manual entry on them a read, which there's a decent amount of lore there. They are terrible, terrible creatures.
Mhm.
They use hags, do them justice,
And
don't just like throw them at a party in an open field.
Right. And honestly, will once again reiterate that the best way to use them is with the Coven, because they just get such good spell casting, up to 6th level, but just some ones to talk about. They get 3 polymorphs, potentially. I mean, it's Phantasmal Killer and Polymorph.
Yeah.
They get Hold Person, Counterspell, Lightning Bolt.
And then Eye Bite.
Do you know what Eye Bite does?
Yeah, that's so your eyes get all milky white, and then as I think a bonus action, you can force an effect on someone, and they're all really terrible.
Okay.
I mean, it's a 6th level spell. That's a bad one.
Yeah.
And bad for the party. A very good spell, bad for a party to face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which makes it
I
good.
don't remember the exact.
So that's why, I mean, it in the Coven, they say that each hag gets +2 to their challenge rating, more or less. So like green hags as a Coven, each of them is challenge rating 5 instead of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how much I agree with that, just because of how killer some of these spells are.
Right.
Like 3 to 5, we're talking about a potentially much bigger jump.
Well, it's not 3 to 5. It's 3 to 5 times 3.
Right.
It
I
has to
understand
be
that.
3.
Right. But that
Yeah.
still means, well, I guess that'd be like a level 8 or 9 party I'd throw up against that. Maybe 8. 7 even would be fine potentially, but it doesn't really matter.
3 level 5s.
Yeah.
Challenge rating. I don't know. That might
I don't know. Let's run it right now.
depends on the party.
Yeah.
Like the players.
Yeah, of course.
Are out of the Abyss group, yes.
Yeah.
Because you guys figure it out and puzzle it out, and
Man, we're monsters.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry for making it so hard, Kevin.
No, it's good. It's fun.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. Yeah. Probably 3-4 episodes from now or something. We'll return to the Hags.
Yeah.
From Volo's, but
We'll call it
keep an eye out for that.
Return of the
Part 2.
Hags.
Oh. Yeah, yours is better.
Hags Part 2. Lame. All right. That's
Cool.
all I got.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Next week on Monsters and Multiclass.
Join us next week as we look at the Ranger Rogue multiclass and dinosaurs.
That's really dumb.